Abide by policies and laws. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to get anybody in here or not, but welcome to Twisted Lyf TV. I am Poetry. This is a reading of the letter that Fani Willis sent to Jim Jordan. I am eating while we're doing this stream. If that offends you, I apologize. But not really. I don't, because I'm hungry. I don't know if I'm going to get anybody in here or not. So I'm really not going to start till probably about 6:05. About 6:05. And I'll welcome anybody that comes in. I have the letter printed already. I'm pulling up some information. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Let me know who you are so I can know that you're here. Let me know if you can hear me, because I just realized that this is a new phone. So I don't know if the mic is picking up like it should. So let me know if you can hear me. I'm just going to go over some brief information about how we got to the point that we are at. Congressman Jim Jordan, who is a Republican from the state of Ohio, had issued a statement to, hey, Tiara, hey. Okay, you can hear me. Good. Okay, so Jim Jordan had entered a request for Fani Willis to submit in certain documents pertaining to her trial against Donald Trump and the other 18. They call them the Trump 19. And in his request, he stated that these forms had to be submitted over to him by September 7th of 2023. Basically, Jim Jordan is with the Judiciary Committee, which basically investigates federal agencies. So they investigate like the IRS, they investigate the DOJ, they investigate federal agencies to make sure that they are abiding by the law and to keep them on track. Again, nobody's supposed to be above the law. So that's what his division does. So Jim Jordan issued this statement to Fani Willis, who is the district attorney of Georgia, who is not a federal agency. She's a state agency. She's representing a state agency, stating that he was going to investigate her because she's investigating Donald J. Trump. Now, Jim Jordan actually did this already with Alvin Bragg. If you watch my channel, you heard me a couple times mention Alvin Bragg. I can't even say the young man, the man who was threatening the president in Utah. He's in Provo, Utah, and he ended up getting unalived by the FBI. He also was threatening Alvin Bragg as well. About 5 months ago, when Alvin Bragg announced that he was indicting Donald J. Trump, as far as the money laundering scheme in association with Stormy Daniels and the money fraud and all that, and paying off people so they wouldn't, talk about his fraud. The case up in New York. Alvin Bragg is the district attorney that's over that case. So apparently Alvin Bragg had mentioned once upon a time in life when he ran for office that he would not go after Donald J. Trump or what have you. But as time goes on, more information came about that showed he should legally go after him, and he indicted Donald J. Trump. Hey, Supreme Coven, how you doing? He indicted him in New York, right? So Jim Jordan got pissed off that Alvin Bragg changed his mind and decided to indict him based off of the information that came in. He was mad that Alvin Bragg was doing his job. He's a district attorney prosecuting criminals, okay? So when he decided to do that, Jim Jordan did the exact same thing he did with Fani Willis. He sent him a letter saying, I'm going to investigate you because you are trying to disrupt a federal election. Now, at this time, Donald J. Trump had just announced that he was going to run for president. So this is about 5 months ago. Okay. But he felt that Alvin Bragg was intentionally trying to disrupt the presidential election, because Biden told him to do so. Hey, everybody, welcome on in. So that's where we're at, right? So Alvin Bragg took him to court to say that Jim Jordan was impeaching on his sovereignty. Sovereignty? I can never pronounce that word. His sovereignty. Basically saying that Jim Jordan was stepping in the rights of the state court and trying to impress federal regulations on his state state laws. Alvin Bragg won that case. So Jim Jordan could not investigate Alvin Bragg. But here we are again. We got another state situation with Fani Willis, and Jim Jordan again is saying that Fani Willis is personally going after Donald Trump for presidential reasons. She's trying to impede on the federal election to try to keep. Girl, I can't pronounce that word for nothing. So that's the word, sovereignty, sovereign. You know what I'm saying? Sovereign. Hold on, I got PDQ, y'all, so I'm eating this while I'm talking. I'm trying to mix my lemon pepper up with my honey. So anyway, basically, he was basically doing the same thing to Fani Willis that he did to Alvin Bragg, which is beyond my understanding, considering you just lost in federal court against Alvin Bragg to tell you that you were overstepping your bounds. And now here you are doing it again with Fani Willis. I said it right. Okay, good. So Jim Jordan had gave Fani Willis until September 7th to turn over documents that were implicating or showing him what evidence she actually has against Donald J. Trump, which ain't none of his damn business. Because again, he's a federal agency. His job is to investigate federal agencies, not state agencies. But basically what I'm getting from it, he just wanted to be nosy and to figure out what information she had so they could use that information to try to defend themselves against her. Let me tell you, I had originally said when I first saw this that Fani Willis should go ahead and sue as well, the same way Alvin Bragg did, and go through the court process. But that's going to take a long time, right? Baby, she did one better. On September 7th, the day that he wanted that information submitted to him, she decided to write him a 9-page letter, honey. 9-page letter. Who got a 9-page letter? Is it Aaliyah or is hers 11-page letter? The song 9-page letter. Is Aaliyah's song the 9-page letter or 11-page letter? Anyway, child, she sent him a 9-page letter. So let me tell you what Jim Jordan does. Because in the letter, it indicates that he doesn't have the legal knowledge in order to prosecute her or investigate her or involve himself in her investigation. Jim Jordan actually does have a law degree. Okay, so he went to, he got a bachelor's degree in economics. He has a master's degree in a 4-page letter. Aaliyah's on the 4-page letter, that's right. He also has a master's degree in education. Then he got a doctor of law degree as well. However, Jim Jordan has never sat for the bar exam, so he doesn't have a legal license, nor does he practice law at all. So what time is it now? 6:07. We're gonna get started with this letter. Y'all know me, sometimes I ad lib, sometimes I put stuff in my own words, and I cuss. But I'm gonna try to keep this letter as plain as she wrote it, because this is what I call a nice, nasty read. This is how you cuss somebody out without even cussing. I'm not good at that. I use cuss words. I use profanity. So we gonna get into it though. So again, thank you all for who are here. I see we got 4 people. I know this was spontaneous. I hadn't planned on doing it. Let's try to get to it. If you want to see somebody else read the letter who may give some different insights and some different points, go over and follow Tabitha Speaks Politics. I know she read the letter as well. I don't know anybody else that read this letter in its entirety. A lot of the news media, they are, hold on, my camera falling. I deal with this every time we do a live. I know the news media read bits and pieces of it. So this is the letter in its entirety. I hope it's not too dark on the screen for you. Okay, so here we go. See the little seal from the office of the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. Okay. So on September 7th of 2023, the date in which she was required by Jim Jordan, well, the day she was recommended by Jim Jordan to submit her information to him, is the same day that she wrote him this letter. It goes like this. Dear Mr. Jordan, I wish I had a violin. Dear Mr. Jordan, I have received your letter dated August 24th, 2023. On August 14, 2023, a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment charging 19 defendants with felony violations of Georgia law, including a violation of Georgia's Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organizations Act, also known as RICO. And there's a whole bunch of little numbers to say what the little statute is. I ain't gonna read all that. Okay, so beyond that, recitations of the charges, your letter contains inaccurate information and misleading statements, meaning you don't know what you're talking about, okay? The true bill of the indictment returned on August 14th, 2023 is attached as Exhibit A. I'm assuming Exhibit A is in this paper. Child, I ain't read it. I haven't read the letter at all. I just downloaded it. I read the first page. Let me see if the exhibit is in here. Exhibit. I don't know what the exhibit is. Gosh, she got like C, Exhibit C, Exhibit D, Exhibit. I ain't got nothing that specifically says there's exhibits, so maybe the exhibits are the little bullet points that's in bold there. We gonna see. Okay, so number one, your attempt to interfere with and obstruction. Wait a minute, that don't make sense. Your attempt to interfere with and obstruction that don't make sense, Fani girl. Hold on, somebody need to proofread this for you. She meant to say your attempt to interfere and obstruct this office's persecution of state criminal cases is unconstitutional. That ain't what she wrote. That was a whole typo right there. She needed Grammarly on that one right there. Hey, Dorlinda, what's going on, girl? Hey, you resting in relaxation right now? Or you flying? You in the air? Okay, so she says in regards to his attempt to interfere and obstruct this office prosecution, and that the state criminal case is unconstitutional. She said, as you know, Chairman Jordan, the congressional power of inquiry is not unlimited, which means you don't have authority over everything. Okay. Watkins v. United States and the statute, Congress is not a law enforcement agency or a trial agency, which is true. That they do not function. Wait a minute, hold on. So there's some typos in this. Hold on. As you know, Chairman Jordan, the congressional power of inquiry is not limited. Watkins v. United States. Congress is not a law enforcement or trial agency. That function is reserved only for the executive and judicial departments of government. Moreover, investigations conducted solely for the personal aggrandizement of the investigators, which means him investigating her, or to punish those investigated, are indefensible. So basically, she's telling him, you don't have the right to investigate me, sir. Not on this state case. Congress is overstepping their bounds if you're trying to step in here and investigate me representing Congress, okay? A congressional subpoena, which is what he issued to her, is valid only if it's related to and in further reference of a legitimate task of Congress. This case has nothing to do with Congress. So there was a January 6th committee that was put together 2021 to investigate the insurrection, right? And members of Congress came together to help put together that investigation. So Jim Jordan could have enacted an investigation against those members because there was a congressional act investigating him at that time. That whole committee, that's all they were doing, was gathering evidence to say, yes, we need to investigate. That's all that committee was doing. And that's how the case got turned over to the DOJ, where Jack Smith is the counsel that's prosecuting. Fani Willis's case is only based on what happened and what affected the state of Georgia. Okay, so she goes on to say, your letter offends each and every one of these settled principles. Its obvious purpose is to obstruct a Georgia criminal proceeding and to advance outrageous partisan misrepresentations. As I make clear below, There is no justification in the Constitution for Congress to interfere with the state criminal matter, is what I just basically said, as you are attempting to do. This poetry, messed that word up. Hold on, my camera falling again. Let me lift my camera up because it keeps falling on me. Bam. See if they get that. Lock it in. Lock it in. Okay. This unprecedented action serves no legitimate legislative purpose and will set a dangerous precedent for the future Congresses. The American people deserve better. And then she put in there, see the letter from Representative Jim Jordan to Chairman Benny Thompson, dated January 9th, 2022. That letter that she's referencing is a letter that Jim Jordan was stating to Chairman Benny Thompson how he can't step in to state matters and investigate that he's out of line and out of pocket for doing so. Okay. So she basically using his own words to go back at him. Okay. Now, as the same thing that Alvin Bragg did, she's stating to him that his letter offends principles of state sovereignty. I think I said it right again. Okay, yeah. The demands in your letter and your efforts at intruding upon the state of Georgia's criminal authority violate constitutional principles of federalism. Criminal prosecutions under state law are primarily the responsibility of state governments, not Congress. It's not the Congress it's not Georgia Congress that Jim Jordan represents. He represents the United States Congress, which is why he has no authority here. Congress's lawful prerogative to interfere with states' administration or their criminal law is extremely limited. See Charles Johnson, for example, House Practice, a guide to the rules, precedents, procedures of the House at 254. Basically, what she's saying, to see that all throughout this letter, Fani Willis is giving him reading material for him to go check out the library to read up on so he can get his knowledge together. In this book, House Practice, a guide to rules, precedents, and procedures of the House, she telling him, go look at your job description. Go look at what you are allowed to do. And here the book is on page 254. And make sure you get the 2017 version. She said that specifically. And to break it down in layman's terms, the investigative power cannot be used to inquire into matters which are reserved for the states. Plain and clear. That's what she's saying. Okay, so she says, what is all this right here? I told you I ain't read this yet, y'all. So, as the Supreme Court held in the United States v. Lopez, under our federal system, the state possesses primary authority for defining and enforcing the criminal law. She gave some more reference points. United States versus Morrison in the year 2000, U.S. Code 598, 618, all that, right? And she's saying that we cannot think of any better example of the police power, which the founders denied the national government and reposed in the states, than the suppression of crime and vindication of its victims. Indeed, because the power to create and enforce state criminal law is an attribute of state sovereignty, I'm getting that word, baby, reserved by the 10th Amendment, it is necessary a power the Constitution has not conferred on the Congress. Again, she letting you know you don't have the right to step into my case. But she's saying it all in legal jargon so he can understand, because like I said, he did get a law degree. He just ain't practicing law. And she breaking down all these different cases: New York versus United States, Young versus Harris, Mesa versus California, Cameron versus Johnson. The Supreme Court has recognized all those cases to say, yeah, stay in your motherfucking place. You in Congress of the United States, not the Congress of Georgia. You ain't got no say so here. So sit back, relax, and watch me work. That's basically all she's saying, okay? So, she go on to list some more cases. The Younger case, Rose versus Mitchell, Gary versus Georgia Diagnostic Prison. She goes on to list a lot of more cases here. And she said, what is true of the federal courts is doubly, I thought I was the only person in the world to use that word. What is true of the federal courts is doubly true of federal legislators, giving state sovereignty over state criminal law. Congress has hardly any role to play in meddling with its sound administration. Stay in your place. In so many words. All through this letter, she basically tells them to stay in your place. In light of these principles, your attempt to invoke congressional authority to intrude upon and interfere with active criminal cases in Georgia is flagrantly at odds with the Constitution. The defendants in this case have been charged under state law with committing state crimes, and there is absolutely no support for Congress purporting to second guess or somehow supervise an ongoing Georgia criminal investigation and prosecution. The violation of Georgia's sovereignty is offensive and will not stand. See Puerto Rico versus Sanchez-Villay. This is saying that states enjoy the authority to undertake criminal prosecutions by virtue of their positions of separate sovereigns. Again, you just violating our state sovereignty. That's all she's saying to them. You ain't got no right to speak here in the state of Georgia on criminal matters that happen in the state of Georgia, which is probably why a lot of these defendants were trying to get their cases transferred over to federal court. They want people like Jim Jordan to be able to step in. They were under the assumption that if they got a transfer over to federal court, which I was kind of confused about as well, but they were under the assumption that if they got it transferred to federal court, then they have the right of presidential pardon. Come to find out they don't. Because even if the judge had allowed them to transfer that state case over to the federal court, it is still a state case. It is just a state case that's being tried under federal court, which means by definition, it's still state. It's still state laws that they are abiding by. It's still state laws they are broke, which means they do not qualify for a presidential pardon at all. Okay. All right. So now her next topic, her next point. So your letter also transgressions separation of powers principle. What that means, in her words, your demand for information regarding an ongoing criminal prosecution. Your demand for information regarding an ongoing criminal prosecution or core executive function is offensive at any notion of separation of powers that recognize distinct roles of the executive and legislative functions of government. The Supreme Court has already explained the executive branch has exclusive authority and absolute discretion to decide whether to prosecute a case, which we decided to do. Yo bad. Okay. United States versus Nixon. She's citing all her. It's like getting footnotes. You know how when you was in high school or grade school and you had to do a book report, you had to put in the footnotes where you got your information from. That's basically what she's doing by citing all these little cases in here. Okay, so she's saying, where was I at? Congress may not invoke its subpoena to interfere with the case. Especially a case pending in a court of competent jurisdiction. You, sir, have violated the basic constitutional rule that the power to investigate must not be confused with any powers of law enforcement. Those powers are assigned under the Constitution to the executive and the judiciary. And that's Quinn versus United States. What happened? Powers of the Okay, so indeed, given that two of your requests concern any documents or communications among federal officials, we must note the position taken on similar matters by the United States Justice Department. As a leading scholar writes, Congress seems generally, why can I not speak? I'm hungry, that's what it is. Congress seems generally to have been respectful of the need to protect material contained in open federal criminal investigative files. The DOJ explained that long-standing department policies prevents them from confirming or denying the existence of pending investigations in response to congressional requests, or providing non-public information about our investigation. A lot of those documents that that he was requesting was wanting to know who were the witnesses, what did the witnesses say, who was the grand jury, the personal information about these people. That's the type of information he was requesting in the original request. Discovery, things that he ain't got no business knowing, because you ain't on the damn case. You ain't defending Donald Trump, so you don't even know it. You don't have a need to know. So where am I at? Congress seems generally to have been respectful. We did all that part right there. The long-standing policies. Okay, the DOJ explained that long-standing department policy prevents us from confirming or denying the existence of pending investigations. The letter from the Attorney General, Carlos Uriarte, goodness gracious, to Chairman Jordan, dated January 20th of 2023, the DOJ emphasized that the department's mission to independently and impartially uphold the rule of law requires us to maintain the integrity of our investigations, prosecutions, and civil actions, and to avoid even a perception that our efforts are influenced by anything but the law and the facts. She makes this point right here to say, we supposed to maintain our integrity to make sure that these investigations that we're doing, the prosecution that we're doing, and the civil actions that we're doing are only being pushed because of the law and the facts. It has nothing to do with a political agenda, which is what Jim Jordan is implying, which what Jim Jordan claims he's trying to involve himself in. He's basically said that because he's saying that they are trying to impede on a federal election. Donald Trump ain't the president, okay? He is a regular ass citizen at this particular point, running for office. He has no political power at this particular time. So there is nothing being done to a political figure. He's an ex-figure, a criminal figure, twice impeached, 4 times indicted criminal figure. You know what I'm saying? What is his damn inmate number? I said I was going to get his inmate number. Trump inmate number. So I could put it in here. Inmate number. Inmate P01135809. I'm going to memorize that. He's just a regular old person, a regular old citizen. And so she's not impeding on a presidential election. One, we ain't even got the presidential primaries selected. We don't know who actually running for the office. We know who is running for these individual positions. Right now, he's trying to be the Republican frontrunner, but he ain't actually running for president yet because he hasn't been made the GOP. What's the word they use? Elect. He's not the presidential elect. Okay, so the next, I'm skipping support, y'all, because there's a lot of different cases that she's citing. That's pretty much what it is. So, Section C, your letter improperly interferes with the administration of criminal justice. There are extremely good reasons why congressional committees have historically avoided interfering with criminal trial proceedings. Sharing, not the inmate, baby, the inmate number. I'm gonna remember that. P01135809. So there are extremely good reasons why congressional committees have historically avoided interfering with criminal trial proceedings. Sharing non-public information about pending criminal matters may violate local and state confidentiality, obligations, and professional ethics rules. It may also prejudice defendants, victims, or witnesses, or affect the overall integrity of proceedings. In some cases, it could produce a bizarre dual-track discovery scheme that circumvents court rules that are carefully calibrated to ensure compliance with principles of sound procedure. For these reasons, objections to criminal investigation or prosecutions are properly raised, at least in the first instance, at courts with lawful jurisdiction, not through partisan legislative inquiries. The courts in the state of Georgia are fully up to the task of educating the rights of all parties at issue. Simply put, she's saying we know what we're doing here, okay? We are of good authority to make sure that all the information that we have does not violate the rights of anyone involved in this case, whether it be the prosecution, whether it be the defense, whether it be the witnesses or the jury. Okay. And by you trying to interfere, you are creating a situation that can expose said persons, could violate the rights of said persons, and create some type of duality of discovery where information has to be, what's the good way to say it? It would kind of break down the integrity of the information, because some things that are done under has to be made of public knowledge, put it like that. Okay. So return to the first principles. The federal courts have long recognized the need for a zone of non-interference around prosecutorial decision making within our criminal justice system, so long as the prosecutor has probable cause to believe that the accused committed an offense defined by the statute, which in this case, they have so much evidence to show proof that these 19 people actually committed a crime directly related to the state of Georgia. There are 6 different states that they were trying to enact this takeover. So I'm still surprised that only Georgia is one of the states that are actually prosecuting them. I do know that, again, in the state of Michigan, Michigan has prosecuted at least 16 people in regard to the fake elector scam, but it's not any of the 19 that's in Georgia. There's 16 others out there doing the same doggone thing. So we do know that she has indicted them. They're looking to go to trial as well. But the other 4 states right now aren't doing anything specifically within the court system to indict the members who participated. But you've heard Banyan, you've heard Stone, even Navarro, who was just arrested. You've heard them say out of their own mouths there were 6 states that they were targeting. Okay, so Okay, I'm skipping some parts again. A whole lot of little statements saying here. Her next point was that your letter burdens the deliberate process privilege. Beyond the many problems that I have identified, your letter fails to recognize the deliberate process privilege. The privilege protects information regarding a government official's decision-making process to allow her the ability to engage in the necessary investigative and deliberative process to make informed decisions. Your attempts at probing communications among and involving counsel in any office are wholly improper. It's pretty much repeating what I said initially. He's trying to involve himself with the counsel who was prosecuting them, trying to figure out what they're trying to do, trying to learn what information they got. That's pretty much it. He ain't got no right to do so. So here are her voluntary responses to portions of the letter are below. While settled constitutional law clearly permits me to ignore your unjustified and illegal intrusion in any open state criminal prosecution, I'm going to take a moment to voluntarily respond to parts of your letter. Chairman George, here come to read, y'all. Here come to read. Let me get a sip of something. Cause she about to read his ass right here. Me. Eliminate his tart. Chairman George, I tell people often, deal with reality, or reality is going to deal with you. In other words, what's this? Oh man, I forgot what the hell I was going to say now. What's that saying your grandma used to say? You don't believe fat meat greasy. That's what it is. It is time that you deal with some basic reality, sir. A special purpose grand jury made up of everyday citizens investigated for 10 months and made recommendations to me. A further reality is that a grand jury of completely different Fulton County citizens found probable cause against the defendants named in the indictment for RICO and various other felonies. Face this reality, Chairman. These are her words, not mine. and this is in bold writing and italicized. Face the reality, Chairman Jordan. The select group of defendants who you fret over in my jurisdiction are like every other defendant, entitled to no worse or better treatment than any other American citizen. Your notion that different standards of justice should apply to a select group of people is offensive. Here is another reality for you that you must face. Those who wish to avoid felony charges in Fulton County, Georgia, including violations of Georgia RICO law, should not commit felonies in Fulton County, Georgia. Plain and simple. In this jurisdiction, every person is subject to the same laws and the same process because every person is entitled to the same dignity as is held to the same standard of responsibility. Persons' social economic status, their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, their political prominence does not entitle them to an exemption from that basic standard. Defendant Trump's status as a political candidate cannot make him legally immune from criminal prosecution. The basic premise of your letter is wrong. The criminal defendant about which you express concern was fully aware of the existence of the criminal investigation being conducted by the Fulton County District Attorney's Office at the time he announced his candidacy for president. So, I mean, he wasn't clueless. He knew we was already investigating his butt when he decided to announce he was going to run for office. So don't act like we just crept this up on him. That's my words, not hers. Okay. I have no doubt that many Americans are the subject of criminal investigations and prosecutions at any given moment. An announcement of a candidacy for elected office, whether it's the President of the United States, Congress, or state or local office, is not and cannot be a bar to criminal investigations or prosecutions. Any notion to the contrary is offensive to our democracy and the fundamental principle that all people are equal before the law. An explanation of the basic obligations of a prosecutor is below. This is letting him know what her job is. Your letter clearly makes clear that you lack the basic understanding of the law, its practice, and the ethical obligations of attorney generals and prosecutors specifically. And again, I told y'all, Jim Jordan did indeed get a law degree. He has never practiced law. He has never sat for the bar. When I look at all his educational history, like I said, he started off with a business degree, a BA in economics. Then he got a master's degree in education. Then he got a law degree. And I think that was it. It was maybe one other. I think he also got a BA in education. I might have mentioned that. Okay, so check this out. I went to school. Got my bachelor's. My bachelor's in international finance. If I wanted to, I can go get a JD, which is for law. That JD would take me 2 years. And that's basically what he did. He went and got his got a bachelor's in economics, got a master's in education, then he got his JD. So he went to school for the school of law, got his JD. So he has a law degree. But he ain't the type of person that went to school and started off in law from the beginning, from the jump. He just got his JD. And basically his law degree would actually allow him to practice law in education or economics, which is what his bachelor's are from and his master's is from. So like when you somebody like me, if I went to school and got my JD would be applicable to finance. It would not be applicable to criminal law or prosecutory law, which is what her job is and what she's saying here. It's clear that he lacks that basic understanding of how the law is practiced and the ethical obligations of attorneys generally and prosecutors specifically. Okay, so she say, I direct your attention to the OCGA, and it gave some little breakdowns of what sections to look for. What they do, they impose upon me as a district attorney the duty to draw up all indictments or what the fuck is that? Indictments or presentments? Is presentments a word? Hold on, let me Google that. I ain't never heard it said like that. Presentments. Presentments. It is a word. A formal presentation of information to a court. A presentment is a formal presentation of information to a court. I had never heard that before. Okay, so it allows her to drop indictments and presentments when requested by the grand jury, and to prosecute all indictable and prosecute all indictable offenses. Subsection 11 requires me to assist victims and witnesses of crimes through the complexities of the criminal justice system and ensure that the victims of crimes are apprised of the rights afforded them under the law. Hey, Anna, what's going on? Section 12 requires that district attorneys perform such duties as are or may be required by law, or which necessarily appertain to their office. Again, she's just breaking down what the role of a district attorney or prosecuting attorney is. And she putting it in legal terms since he has a law degree. But as she's explained above, the defendants about whom you express concern have been indicted by a Fulton County grand jury. The indictment identifies victims. The state of Georgia's Constitution and laws impose a duty upon me to protect, serve, and seek justice on their behalf. I will fulfill that duty in this case, notwithstanding your attempt to interfere. Furthermore, I have exercised my duties as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer for Fulton County independently and based on my obligations to the citizens of Georgia under the Constitution and the laws, and nothing will deter me from the just, fair, and proper enforcement of the law. Your questioning of the overt and predicate acts, is that how you pronounce that? Predicate acts listed in the indictment? Yes, it is. Your questioning of the overt and predicate acts listed in the indictment is misinformed. Your questioning of the inclusion of overt and predicate acts by the defendants in the indictment's racketeering. I gotta look that word up because I don't know what predicate means, y'all. Hold on for a second. Wait, why is it going to YouTube? I don't want to go to YouTube. For me to get an understanding of what the hell I'm reading, I gotta look that word up. Because they didn't put predicament. They said predicate, right? Maybe that's a typo too. Nope, that's there. There we go. What does it mean? The part of a sentence or a clause containing a verb. No, that ain't. State, affirm, or assert something about the subject of a sentence or argument of preposition. Found or base something on. I think that's the way we finna use it. Your question of the overt and predicate acts. That means that we found or base something on. Okay, by the defendants. Okay. Now I understand. Okay, so as I explained to the public when I announced the indictment, the overt and predicate acts are included because the grand jury found probable cause that those acts were committed to advance the objectives of a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the Georgia's 2020 presidential election. Again, I mentioned there were 6 states that were actually involved in this overturn. Let me see if I can look that up. What 6 states? What 6 states were involved in the 2020 election fraud? 2020 election scandal. Oh, they said 7 states. I could have sworn it was 6. Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin were 7 states that had so-called fake electors sign paperwork attempting to cast electoral ballots for Trump instead of their state's actual winner, which was President Biden. They also had fake electors show up as officials. These electors even had marshal badges pretending to be these electors. They also were involved with the voting machines. They had something to do with those. It's so many different papers. Multiple state legislative members signed papers intending to cast false electoral college votes. The paperwork is now the focus of both the federal and state investigation. That was okay, so in Arizona, let's pause for a moment. In Arizona, we had the fake electors, 22 Arizona Republicans, including the Republican Party chair and multiple state legislative members. They all signed paperwork intending to cast false electoral college votes. That's what happened in Arizona. So in Georgia, as we all know, 16 Republicans, led by the state Republican Party chair, allegedly met in a secret meeting in the state capitol to discuss plans to send an alternate slate of voters to Washington. The group also signed paperwork making their plans official. The scheme is central to prosecutor Fani Willis's probe to overturn the election. At least 8 of the fake electors have signed immunity deals with Willis's office, offering to cooperate in exchange for not being prosecuted. So we already know she got 8 people right here who are already flipped. In Michigan, let's see what happened there. Oh, in Michigan, not only did they have fake electors trying to sign off saying to certify the votes, we also found that there was others who were charged in connection with efforts to gain access to the actual voting machines. This stuff goes deep, y'all. This is deep. So there were 16 Michigan Republicans so far that was charged with fake crimes related to the fake elector scheme. Initially, they had referred their charges over to federal prosecutors in 2022, but then they stopped it and decided to keep it on a state level. Let me read y'all messages here. I missed a couple. Okay, I was saying it right. In Nevada, he tried to use fake electors here and said we had dead people. Girl, I heard that there was dead people. We had so many recounts. I remember there was recounts like crazy going on in that election. I remember that. I remember not only I knew about the ones on the East Coast where they had like the dead people showing up being elected. 3 people in Michigan, people who were actually supposed to be electors, real people, they filed a lawsuit back in January requesting $25,000 in damages, claiming they suffered humiliation and harassment due to the fake elector scheme. Yeah, here's Nevada go. Woo! In the Silver State, which is Nevada, Republicans met in Carson City. They organized their own fake elector scheme as well. Among them was GOP Chair Michael McDonald. He is the focus of a federal investigation in Nevada. I didn't even know they was investigating Nevada, because remember I said I was wondering why these other states weren't doing nothing? Other states are. Nevada is investigating as well. McDonald's phone has been seized by the FBI back in 2022. And he and another elector testified to the House committee and for Jack Smith. They both testified. Both Donald and the second fake elector, Nevada Republican Party official Jim DeGraffenreid Reed, they have limited immunity for their testimony. So there's 2 more people that's flipping. Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford declined to pursue a criminal investigation of McDonald, Laxalt, and others. Okay, so the Attorney General is not going to prosecute or pursue criminal investigation in Nevada. Okay, this is probably why I only thought it was 6. New Mexico was a last-minute addition to the fake elector plan. Goodness gracious, Smith had a 45-page indictment. This is Jack Smith, 45-page indictment. Despite being a state that Biden won comfortably by over 100,000 votes, the GOP still sent their own electors to vote for Trump, citing pending litigation in other states. The Republicans' 5 electors were turned away, so they didn't actually get to do it when they attempted to vote in the state capitol. But they also signed paperwork asserting a false right to make electoral college votes. 2 of those 5 voters have testified for Jack Smith. Boy, that Jack Smith case gonna tear them up. I thought the Fani Willis case was gonna get him. Jack Smith finna get their ass. So in Pennsylvania, again, faked electors. 20 Republicans who plan to contest the state's results. They went and had a secret meeting as well. Pennsylvania electors inserted themselves into line, and they signed vote documents that makes them unique from other states. Their document reads that the votes would be only valid if they are recognized, which they weren't. So they didn't really get to push it through there. They still should get their asses though. The state is not going to investigate them. Pennsylvania decided not to investigate them. Okay, back to this letter. I think all these states, first of all, should be investigating them. Hold on, let me get a piece of chicken, y'all. I know my chicken cold, but that's okay. We got a little ASMR. Okay. I read that part. Okay. So your question about the length of the investigation, the timing. Oh, I missed something. I missed that part. As I was looking up predicate. Okay. So your question of the inclusion of overt and predicate acts by the defendants in the indictment's racketeering count shows a total ignorance of Georgia's racketeering statute and the basis of criminal conspiracy law. Allow me the opportunity to provide a brief tutorial on criminal conspiracy law, Chairman Jordan. As I explained to the public when announcing the indictment, the overt and predicate acts are included because the grand jury found probable cause that those acts were committed to advance objectives of criminal conspiracy to overturn the result of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. For a more thorough understanding of Georgia's RICO statute, its application, and similar laws in other states, I encourage you to read RICO state by state. And since you didn't pass the bar, I'm ad-libbing that, but she says as a non-member of the bar, you can purchase a copy for $249. Okay, so your question of the length of the investigation and timing of the indictment is totally unfounded. Your letter raises questions about the length of time the investigation has taken. This investigation began with my office believing the critical witnesses would cooperate. Several witnesses did, in fact, voluntarily came forward and cooperated. And we were able to collect pertinent evidence during the calendar year of 2021. Not just now. We didn't just open the doors up right now and say, oh, let me get out of bed this morning and go ahead and indict them. We've been working on this since 2021. Okay. Many witnesses, however, were uncooperative and required subpoenas to compel their cooperation. As a result of this resistance, we requested and received authorization from the Fulton County Superior Court judges to convene a special purpose grand jury. Okay, and with that grand jury, we're compelling the testimony and production of documentary evidence. You will find attached as Exhibit B my letter dated January 20th of 2022 to the then Chief Judge Christopher S. Brasher requesting this special grand jury. So again, I didn't take all day to do this. I didn't just wake up and say, let me do this today. We've been planning this. We've been investigating and probing for a while now. So on January 24th, which is the first month of the year in 2022, the Superior Court judges authorized the grand jury to be impaneled in May of 2022. It's the beginning of the third term of court for that year. The order granted my request that the SPGJ, the grand jury, the special grand jury, be empowered to investigate possible criminal disruptions of Georgia's administration of its 2020 presidential election. Rather than accept service of lawful subpoenas from the grand jury, multiple out-of-state witnesses chose to resist compliance and forced my office to litigate in multiple state and federal courts to obtain orders compelling their appearance. For example, Lindsey Graham, the ranking minority member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I still don't understand why Lindsey Graham is not being indicted when the grand jury voted to indict him. or recommended to indict him. It was from a vote of 20-1, if I'm not mistaken. But for some reason, she didn't, which makes me believe that Lindsey Graham is testifying. And he cut a deal. That's what makes me believe. Anyway, Lindsey Graham was a witness who refused to voluntarily comply and required my office to obtain a decision affirming his obligation to testify from the United States Supreme Court. This is but one example of the use of litigation by a witness to resist providing information to this investigation and to delay justice. As a result of the litigation necessary to overcome this resistance, the grand jury required 8 months to complete its investigation and was released in January 2023. It should be noted that this was 4 months before the expiration of their term in May 2nd, 2023. If you are sincerely interested in improving federal law, I encourage you to make it incumbent upon your congressional colleagues to cooperate with the lawful investigations without requiring intervention by the highest court in the land. That will be a productive federal initiative for you to take on. So she basically saying, if you think that I'm moving too slow to do my job on this level, how about you go back to your homeboys up there in Congress and tell them stop ignoring subpoenas and bring their butt on in here and testify like we asked them to do. Okay, that's all she's saying. So the Fulton County District Court Attorney's Office has used federal grant funding for its intended purposes. Jim Jordan has said to her in his letter that he was going to pull funding because the state of Georgia receives federal funds. He's going to pull funding so that way, she won't be allowed to investigate. I shouldn't have ate that piece of chicken. Okay, so she says to him, you have no basis for your implication that this office has inappropriately spent federal funds. This office receives federal grant funds via the United States Department of Justice programs. It has received local and national recognition for its work with community partners on grant-funded programs. I have attached a summary of our programs funded with federal grant dollars. You will note that the grant-funded programs include our nationally recognized initiative to process long-neglected sexual assault kits, prosecute dangerous sexual offenders who are identified via DNA results, and these prosecutions are handled through the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative grant. If you and your colleagues follow through on your threats to deny this office federal funds, please be aware that you will be deciding to allow serial rapists to go unprosecuted, hate crimes to be unaddressed, and to cancel programs for at-risk children. They don't care, girl. They do not care. Such a vengeful, uncalled for legislative action would impose serious harm on the citizens we serve, including the fact that it would make them less safe. They do not care. They will use that as an excuse for you not to be able to do your job and blame it on you. Damn the fact that they took money out of y'all mouths. They will say, look at y'all there. Y'all can't handle y'all people. Crime has risen. This has risen. Homeless people have risen. Rapes have risen. They would use that if they pull funding. They don't give a damn if it's being vengeful because they are trying to be vengeful. That's their purpose. Okay, so please note that the Department of Justice keeps meticulous records of our grant funding, and I invite you to request this information from them. You will undoubtedly be proud of the amazing work that has been done to serve victims with this funding, and you will discover that this office is in compliance with the terms of its grant funding. The only purpose I can see of Fani Willis including all that information is to let the public know what's going on. Because again, Jim Jordan and his cronies don't give a damn how it negatively affects Georgia and its citizens, because they are personally attacking her and hoping that they can bring her down and make her look bad in the eyes of Georgia citizens. But by her putting that in this letter and making this letter go public, it's allowing the public to know that they ain't abusing federal funds, that they using the money to do what they need to do to help take a bite out of crime. Okay, so to educate you, on the important work that our partnership with the federal government funds, you may watch I Feel Like I Got Let Out of Prison. Atlanta rape victim gets justice after 22 years. And that's was shown on the WSB channel. Our community violence program is also funded by this grants. What else she talking about? She's basically just trying to call their punk guard and say, if you pull those funds, it's going to affect the Centers of Disease Control Prevention. She lists a lot of different programs that are going to be affected if they pull funds, but they don't care, girl. They do not care. Okay, so your allegations that I have used this prosecution for political benefit are unfounded. Your letter makes allegations that I somehow used the investigation and prosecution about which you have inquired in a political manner. Nothing can be further from the truth. In fact, the allegations that you raise are thoroughly debunked and rated false by independent fact-checking website PolitiFact. So you can look at this link, PolitiFact.com. Did Fani Willis, DA Fani Willis campaigns get Trump? And they say she didn't. Below are suggesting, here's some typos. Below are suggestions for productive activity by the U.S. House Judiciary Committee. The U.S. House Judiciary Committee is what Jim Jordan is under, okay? So she's giving him some suggestions on what he need to do his job. I do have some suggestions on how you can engage productively. First, victim witness advocates who take care of vulnerable victims and witnesses and prosecutors, officers across the United States, are grossly underpaid. Get them some damn money. Okay, I'm going to paraphrase for a second here. Many of them got advanced degrees. They got specialized training serving people in distress. In Fulton County alone, like many other jurisdictions, they face significant challenges in recruiting and retaining these individuals because they so fucking underpaid. If you want to do something good with your job, Jim Jordan, pay their asses, okay? Secondly, the federal government, as noted above, has admirably provided funding so that local prosecutors can investigate old rape cases, okay? What can you do? Federal grant funding should be increased to allow the testing of all untested rape cases, not just some, all of them, as well as the capacity to successfully investigate and prosecute offenders identified by that testing. That initiative will make America a such safer place to be in. Thirdly, the federal government is funding a program to turn children around who find themselves in trouble with the criminal justice system. We partner with the United States Attorney's Office in Atlanta to sponsor the Credible Messengers program, which matches at-risk children with adults who have been in trouble. And what they do, they can share their own life experiences and serve as mentors who can show them a better way. Okay, this program, while valuable, has a very limited capacity and leaves too many youths in need unserved. Congress should greatly expand it. You have the ability to do that, Jim Jordan. Focus your efforts somewhere where you can make a benefit to the community. This is what she's saying. Fourth, the state crime labs across the nation, not just in Georgia, but across the nation, are improperly funded. Georgia State Crime Lab is so overwhelmed. Its leadership informed me that it does not have the capacity to test drugs like fentanyl or firearms used in violent crimes in a timely manner and refer to us private testers to obtain necessary evidence. Georgia State Crime Lab does not even have adequate financial resources to pay their damn scientists. They don't have the adequate finances to test rape kits, to test drugs, and other scientific evidence in a timely manner. So, Jim Jordan, sir, Congress must take action to address this crisis instead of worrying about what I'm doing in my criminal case. By providing resources to the state crime labs to test evidence so many cases can move along expeditiously. So she's so worried about time. That's what you're telling them. The safety of persons serving in the criminal justice system should be a primary concern of yours. As it seems you have a personal interest in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, you should consider directing the United States Department of Justice to investigate the racist threats that have come to my staff and to me because of this investigation. For your information, I am attaching 10 examples of threats to this office. See exhibits F through O. I don't have none of the exhibits, y'all. That's what it is. I'm providing these examples to give you a window into what has happened to my staff and me as I promise of my oath to the United States and Georgia Constitution, and do not allow myself to be bullied or threatened by you or any other member of Congress. I added the by you, but she said I ain't gonna be bullied or threatened by members of Congress. I'm not gonna be bullied or threatened by local elected officials or any other who believe that Lady Justice should not be blind and that America has different laws for different citizens. Yours in service, Fani Willis. Oh, Lord Jesus. That was a lot. That was a lot. That was a lot. Thank y'all for sitting here through this whole doggone read. Basically, in so many words, in a 9-page letter, she told him to mind your goddamn business. Stay out of mine. Okay? That's basically what she said in 9 pages. I believe, y'all let me know what y'all think, that Jim Jordan is going to respond in a very negative way because he pretty much just got punked. You know, if you ever been in jail back in the day and you was on the phone and some other criminal walked up behind you and wanted that phone, and then they checked your ass and took the phone from you, that's basically what she just did. She just took the phone from him. She just whole checked his ass right there. Okay, TR, you said there's an investigation in Nevada. The one I just was reading said they decided not to investigate. Let me go back there. Let me go back. Nevada. Okay. In the Silver State, a half-dozen Republicans meet in Carson City, Nevada to organize their own fake elector scheme after the 2020 election. Among them was the state GOP chair, Michael McDonald, the focus of federal investigations in Nevada. McDonald's phone was seized and searched in February of 2022 by the FBI, and he and another elector testified to both the House January 6th committee for special counsel Jack Smith's federal investigation. Both McDonald and the second fake elector, Nevada Republican Party official Jim DeGraffenreid, were given limited immunity due to their testimony. The Nevada scheme was allegedly headed by former state attorney general and GOP Senate candidate Adam Laxalt. Nevada Attorney General Aaron Ford declined to pursue a criminal investigation of McDonald, Laxalt, and others. Yeah, it says he declined it. Let me pop up something else. The Attorney General says Nevada will not bring charges against the GOP fake electors. So if you got information for me, TR, that says that they are going to prosecute, send it to me on IG if you would. Send me the link, because according to this link here, and this was last dated back in the FBI decided to investigate back in 2022, but as of this year, they decided they're not going to press charges against any of them. Attorney General Aaron Ford said that his office will not bring charges under existing state laws against the 6 Republicans who in 2022 falsely pledged Nevada's electoral votes to President Trump, despite him losing the election to President Joe Biden, meaning there will not be a state prosecution of the so-called fake electors. But what he has said here is that because Jack Smith is doing a federal investigation, Aaron Ford said that he would continue to assist the federal Department of Justice in its investigation in this matter. They're just not going to prosecute them on a state level. I am certain that all these states should prosecute them on a state level as well, the same as Fani Willis. So we know that Jack Smith got his case going on, right? And Jack Smith has indicted so many people. There are still 8 people, if I'm not incorrect, that are unnamed. They have not been indicted yet. I did find out they have 5 years from the time that the grand jury recommends indictment. They have 5 years statute of limitation in order to bring forth charges. So the 6 or the 8, it might be 6, the unnamed people that have not been indicted yet, it's very possible they still may have charges coming down the road. I think they're trying to get the big fish out the way first. Let's see. So I'm not sure why, because Nevada law specifically states that anyone who participates in creating a false slate of presidential electors, serving in a false slate of presidential electors, or conspiring to create or serve in a false slate of presidential electors should be hit with felony criminal penalties. And Ford is saying that he does not believe that these people fit underneath that criteria. I don't know. I don't understand how they don't fit. If they took their ass down there and falsely gave their electoral votes to Trump when Biden won the damn state, how is that not fitting under this SB 133 bill? It clearly states that it fits. I don't know. I don't know what the hell Aaron. I don't know who Aaron was trying to kiss their ass for. I don't know what he was doing. Okay, let me get back to my chicken. This chicken is fire. We've been sitting here for like an hour and 11 minutes. And I feel like crunch on this chicken. And it's drowned in honey. That's some good chicken, y'all. Unless you're right about them testifying. That's the only thing I think of to Anna. Is that they have agreed to be witnesses for Jack Smith. They received some type of limited immunity. I'm not sure what the limited immunity entails, but they did get some type of limited immunity. Yeah. See if they say limited immunity. Let me pull it up. I got links. I got 2 phones now, so I can do this. Okay, so Special Counsel Jack Smith has reached agreements with at least 2 fake GOP electors to provide them limited immunity. Yep, in exchange for testifying. They testified for the grand jury, which the grand jury's this is prior to the grand jury making the decision to indict. So what they basically did was just help lay the groundwork, help saying what they did to say yes, this really did happen, so the grand jury could say, okay, we're gonna indict them. So that's what they did. I still don't know specifically what the limited immunity is, but they did testify before the grand jury. People familiar with the situation said that the federal prosecutors have been trying to quickly confirm evidence on the record recently and have refused to grant extensions to subpoenas for testimony for some witnesses. They also said Smith's office was preparing to compel testimony from witnesses who were given immunity, but indicated they refused to answer questions under the Fifth Amendment. CNN reported that the testimony allowed the office to gain information that other investigations looking to the aftermath of the 2020 race could not get. At least 6 witnesses testified before the grand jury in D.C. during the 4 days and 2 weeks, many of them centered around the fake electors plan. I mean, this seemed like an open and shut case. This seemed like such an open and shut case. I think what the hardest part, well, it would be hard. I just threw my phone over there. I was going to say, I think that the hardest part would be proving what Trump did to make them do these things. Because like I know in the military, I don't know, you may have seen in some movies before. I want to say in Hurt Locker this happened before, but I know in some movies, let's say a private went out and, you know, with the Geneva laws that they supposed to not harm certain citizens or whatever, prisoners of war, they're not supposed to harm, but they may have did something to these people, right? Torture them or what have you. And the private could then get off, so to speak, because he was given a direct order to do that. but they had to prove that he was given that direct order in order for that to happen. Where if he doesn't receive 100% immunity, he got some type of limited immunity, as long as he can prove that he was given a direct order. And that's what I was wondering, like, how are they going to prove that Trump gave them a direct order? Well, a lot of the information that came out lately, we got audio testimony, Navarro writing books, Stone doing interviews and doing documentaries, all seemingly bragging about what they did in this fake elector scheme, and directly stating what Trump told them to say, what Trump told them to do, and what Trump did. All of those people, is a lot of people documented. And I don't know if it was necessary to cover their own ass that they documented it, but they actually documented. They put it in writing. They put it on video. They put it on tape to show proof that it happened. And I really think it was more of a braggadocious type of thing than them trying to cover their own ass. They wanted to say that I did this. You seen Peter Navarro, like I said, he was just arrested the other day. He got indicted. He got charged. And now he going to jail. He got to be sentenced. I think he's going to get at least 2 years in jail. He up here still saying that what he did wasn't illegal after he already explained how they were going to go into these 6 states before they added New Mexico, I presume. He stated exactly what they were going to do step by step, how they were going to call back votes or send back votes, how they were going to bring up people and make them certify that they were electors when they're really not. He said all of this word for word and then said, oh, that's not a coup. I know I'm saying, and like I want the interview, I think it might have been MSNBC that was interviewing him at the time, and the interviewer was like, "What? Don't you realize that you're describing a coup?" He's like, "No, it ain't." You are basically saying arrogance makes people careless and stupid. Makes them so careless and stupid because just their egos. So they tried him quick. What Navarro got arrested for was not specifically for the crime itself. He was issued a subpoena to come testify in court. Same thing as Steve Bannon did. He was supposed to testify in court. A lot of the other people who had received subpoenas showed up. Their testimony, they plead the fifth. So they didn't say anything. They held their tongue. They just pled the fifth. He decided not to show up. So basically, he was held in contempt of his subpoena, and he is going to jail for not showing up to testify. He could have showed up and just pleaded the fifth like everybody else did. He could have, but in his arrogance, he's untouchable. You can't prosecute somebody like me. I got special legislative jurisdiction. No, you don't, sir. No, you don't. Bring your ass to court. Or like Fani Willis said, don't commit the crime in my county. You won't have to be here. But since he didn't show the fuck up, now he looking at 2 years in jail for contempt of court, contempt of subpoena. But so when he did his little interview, they said he didn't say much of anything in court at all. When the defense did not even present a defense at all. Matter of fact, I think they said when the judge asked him did he have anything to present, he said, what am I going to defend? He didn't want to defend anything. And so, Navarro sitting in court scared as shit. And when he get out there in front of the cameras, lights, camera, action, now he turned on about how now he this big tough guy. I'm willing to go to jail for this. I'm willing to go to jail for my rights. I'm willing to go to jail because they trying to take down a great presidential candidate, this, that, and the third. He's talking about he willing to go to jail, and then in the same breath telling people I need $1.4 million for my legal counsel. If you willing to go to jail, what you need a legal counsel for? What you need legal counsel for? Now he gonna appeal his criminal conviction, like his 2 years. He gonna appeal that. But you just said you willing to go to jail. I don't understand that. You so big and bad and you willing to go to jail, this, that, and the third. What Trump say, never surrender. You ain't gonna never surrender. But now you out here begging for money for people to help keep you out of jail. You gonna file appeals, waste court time and court money, and people giving you donations and everything. So you can appeal it, but you ready to go to jail. You about it like that. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me. So, one of the good things though, this chicken is really good. One of the good things is that the judge decided, at least for Eric Meadows, not to transfer his case to federal court. It stays in Georgia court, which means that all 19 people are very likely to still have to sit there together as co-conspirators, with the exception of was it Eastman that got his case fast-tracked? He asked for a speedy trial. Was it Eastman? Y'all hear me out here if y'all know the person that got his case fast-tracked. I don't know if it was Eastman or not. And he's going to court in October. So Fani Willis is asking for all 19 defendants to go to court in October. Judge McAfee, like I said, this is his first criminal trial that he's having it all. And then it's one of this magnitude. He's only been on the bench for a few months. I want to say 5 months that he's been on the bench. He's like, I cannot see any way possible that we could try all 19 people at one time. So we're going to see what's going to go on with that. I told you I was wondering too how they was going to do all 19 people at one time. Like, was they going to build a bench for all 19 of them to sit down there? He going to have to deal with 19 different appeals. So at first I was thinking that they was going to try to move some of them over to federal court just to take the load off of him. But no, we're going to keep them all on state level, child. Well, thank y'all for sitting here with me while I read this letter. I hope y'all got an understanding of what's going on with Jim Jordan. If you missed the first 5 minutes of this video, then again, I explained how Jim Jordan tried to do this again with another prosecutor who has already indicted Donald Trump, Alvin Bragg, in the New York City case for the money laundering, the Stormy Daniels, hush money, all that stuff. He tried the same thing with Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg decided to take him to court, and Alvin Bragg won, basically saying, Jim Jordan, stay the hell out of my damn case. We taking what's that man name? P011. The prisoner P011. You know, I'm gonna get his number. We taking all them to court. We taking them to court. And you can't stop us, and you can't involve yourself in it. And even though Fani Willis didn't take him to court, she sent him this 9-page letter to tell him the same thing that the judges pretty much told him in the Alvin Bragg case. Mind your goddamn business. That's it, y'all. Thank y'all for being here with me on this Saturday night. I know this was unexpected. It was unplanned. I was just driving home from work, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go live and read this letter. Thank you so much for y'all being here. I appreciate it. I will see y'all in the next video. Probably will be Traveling Talk Tuesday, and I tell y'all about my trip to Utah, baby. And then we come back on next Thursday with PNTV again. The Jonathan Majors case. The number, I'm gonna have to memorize that number, because I might call him that number from now on. Yeah, Jonathan Majors case was delayed again. This time the prosecutor said they was ready, but they filed a certificate with the court to let them know that they was ready to move forward. Thank you. I did it myself. I'm about to take them down now. I'm about to take them down because my head itch. So Jonathan Majors case was pushed back to September 15th now, because even though the prosecutors who delayed the case in the first place said that they were ready this time, they filed a certificate which information on the certificate was improper, and the defense had to look that over and say, nah, they got to do this over again. So they done delayed the case again, child. Jonathan Majors doesn't seem like he ever going to court. I still don't have any more news as far as whether Grace Jabari is actually wanted by the New York Police Department. That was the rumor last time when they delayed the case. They said Grace Jabari had fled the country because New York PD had issued a warrant out for her arrest in regards to her assault against Jonathan Majors. Thank you so much, Jonathan Majors. has always contended that he didn't assault her. Witnesses had already said that she assaulted him, yada yada this, yada yada that. So I'm really looking forward to that case too, because there's a lot that's going on with that one. Lizzo's case, I ain't doing nothing now, y'all, but following cases. Lizzo case goes back to court in January. E. Jean Carroll's case, I already told y'all, if y'all didn't see it or not. E. Jean Carroll has already won her second defamation case against Donald J. Trump. The trial date that was set for January 15th is now going to be an award settlement date. I guess that's how you would say it. So she asked for $10 million. She won $5 million the first time. She asked for $10 million this time. So on January 15th, they would decide how much more money that Donald Trump owes E. Jean Carroll. March 4th, we know we got that date for Jack Smith's January 6th insurrection case. The documents case for Donald J. Trump is May of 2024. He got 6 cases going on right now. I had them posted to the board once upon a time. I may have to look them again and tell y'all what they all are. So, other than me, I'm going to review Power, Raising Canaan Power. I'm not doing Force at all. I'm doing Raising Canaan Power. I think that's the only show that I got to review. So, I'm going to be in the courts. That's what we're going to be doing for the most part on this channel, in the courts. Just talking about things that I'm seeing. And anything else that y'all think y'all want me to talk about that's more of a serious matter. We'll do a little gossip here and there, But other than that, we just gonna be talking about stuff that matter for the most part. Thank y'all again for coming. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Peace.